proceed. Hi guys.
Hi everyone, welcome to a very special interview. In fact, the 20th anniversary of a little movie we made back in 2002. And the movie was called BOGUS.
Yep, it sure was.
And we thought we'd give a little chance to reflect on some of the moments of BOGUS and some of the memories that we had shooting the movie, and to sit and think it's 20 years on. It's totally a shocker.
It's definitely just flew before you know it. You're always the one that goes before you know it. Time flies by and you think that's 10 years, that's 20 years past. Before you know it, 20 years has came and gone, and we're a lot older, and you're like, wow, was that really 20 years ago? Was that really that long? You're like, yep, 20 years, it's come and gone. So, like the stuff we did back then, you could say a bit immaturity and all that and stuff in our part, but it was what we were, we were still in school and there was that bit of immaturity and stuff, like, as I suppose everyone is back then, but, looking back at BOGUS and looking at the creativity, the kind of me and you together, as best friends, it kind of, it set the foundation of, going on for there and going on to other things, going on to like my TV show, Tom, and just doing, you going on to the other projects, me appearing in other things like Dad and Cumbernauld, that set the tone, that's BOGUS, and BOGUS 2 set the kind of foundation, that set the mark. It went like, right, this is what you came from, this is what you're going on to. It's like I know we just do this, we do these filmings and all that, we're not big actors, we just do these and things, but look at all your actors, like your big actors, they got to start somewhere, and then when they start somewhere it helps them go on to, other films. You go, do you remember where you started for? And they'll go, oh yeah, we started for this and worked our way up. So that's what you could say the foundation of BOGUS and BOGUS 2 was. It was the starting point, the pivotal starting point, and then, we went on to different things, but 20 years, man, wow.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we have always made a lot of independent movies. I suppose you would call them. They're not big blockbusters or anything like that. They're just small independent movies.
Yeah.
And we've done that for 20 years. I mean, on and off. I mean, we've not made as many movies as we've done TV work.
Yep.
And we've always found that the TV work is obviously an easier thing to do. Maybe because you've got more time and you can just expand on so many different ideas. We can do different things. Whereas when you're stuck making a movie, I think like the movie is it. And back in 2002 when we made BOGUS, I remember the day we shot it. I remember like the month we shot it. We shot it in February of 2002.
That's correct.
And it was a really, really, really wet, rainy day. A really terrible Scottish weather day. And I remember...
Because it was shortly, it was a good bit into February, because I remember it was my birthday and all that, and it was a good bit after my birthday. You just went like that, I remember you saying to me, you've got a new camera, blah, blah, thinking about doing something, and then you just came to me with the idea, the notion, and I just went along with it.
The idea actually, for those that don't know, came from an idea 2 years prior to that me and Tom had came up with. It was actually, in fact, it wasn't even called BOGUS, to be fair. The title of the idea of the movie we were going to make was Tom and Paul's Project.
Tom, that's right, yes.
Remember that?
Tom and Paul's Project.
And we never even got it off the ground.
And do you remember where that idea came from? That idea initially came from me and you kind of speaking about the music band, Alan Fingley's project.
Yeah.
And then you thought, you like the Alan, what's it, the Alan Finley's project? Remember he did it, he does the songs, not the Finley songs that he does, and you thought, I'm going to take that kind of and maybe create something like the Paul and Tom's project, or the Tom and Paul's Finley project. And then I thought, no, that's like that, they could people could look at it and go, that's a kind of rip off. Like they've got a music band and you've just kind of took that idea and hinged it into your own initial kind of idea, and then we thought we need something else. And then I remember I remember when it came to, it was the day me and you were obviously, we loved kind of our 90s movies, our 80s and 90s movies, and I remember it was obviously the god awful Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and all that. And then you thought, well, that's a terrible film, it's not really that great, but what if we just take the name Bogus, that name, you know, it's bogus, man. And then I remember we just had that initial, that's actually awesome, we should incorporate that, it's bogus. And then we took it and we ran with it and we went, it's bogus, and that works, works for us.
The whole idea of Bogus, right, was about two boys that all they did was play games and talk about movies. Now, when we made that movie, talking about games and movies wasn't as popular as today.
No.
Like the geek culture, if you want to call it that, being a geek and being into sci-fi or movies or comic books or all that kind of stuff, like it was like frowned upon. Like nobody cared. You were made fun of. Like
you were laughed at, and you could kind of say, like, me and you, even though we were kind of frowned upon and laughed at, you could see me and you. We just didn't care because we loved our movies and games that much. We didn't care. We just went, we don't care. We're going to keep loving films and nothing's going to stop us. And then look at us 20 years now. The big geek culture and big film culture now today, and everybody's pure, oh, I'm loving being a geek. I was like, me and Paul were a geek way back in like the 90s and all that stuff. And they were the type of people that would make fun of us. And like, and now they're not making fun of us. Like, well, do you know what? We were geeks before a lot of folk out there.
Oh yeah, no, listen, the whole idea behind Bogus was an idea that me and Tom used to do in school, was we used to talk about films quite a lot. We used to go to each other's houses on a Wednesday night for dinner and tea, back and forward, and we'd play games and we'd talk about things, and we'd just, you know. So when Bogus came, we were in our teens. We were 16 and we made Bogus. And so the idea came about, well, why don't we just make a movie about what we used to do in school and keep the tradition alive, basically. And of course the Tom and Paul project was the title to begin with, and I think Bogus was the last title. We couldn't really come up with I can't remember, this Movie Talk was another title we came up with.
It was like Movie Talk, that was
so there was not really a proper title. I don't know what you could call it, I suppose.
Tom and Paul's Movie Talk was kind of what was going, and then we thought, nah, that's a bit...
We needed something to stand out. I didn't want a big... So Bogus became the final title. Now, it was a kind of... what was supposed to be a one-off movie, which the first movie is what we're talking about today, and which we're celebrating the 20th years now. Had this movie been made in 2016, 2015, I think it would be totally different. I don't think it would have been received as... I think people caught up on it later when it was released on the internet and that. And I think that people appreciated it a bit more. I think Bogus was really before its time.
Oh, it was. And it was definitely.
You know, we made that movie in only a couple of weeks, like in terms of different days. We shot a couple of days, and we went back.
We went back, and because you got to remember, back then there was no high-tech cameras back then. No. You had the old-fashioned camera with the cassette and all that.
There was no HD
so there was no HD or nothing like that, you know.
4K or anything like that.
We shot it the way we shot it, and it was shot just, and it stands the test of time. You know, it was shot great, and it was shot when we had time, and it was shot when you were available with your camera, when I was available, and we just made it just...
It was one of the easiest movies I've ever shot, I've ever been on, I've ever done. It was just so quick and easy to do. And we got a lot of help. In fact, when John came in to the movie, he's in the first movie. He's in not in it as much, but by the time we did the second movie, we thought to ourselves, right, okay, we know what we're doing.
We know what we're doing.
We'll throw John into it a wee bit more and give him that wee bit extra to do.
Yeah.
And but I really a lot of thanks to do for John for being in that first movie as well, because without him we wouldn't have had the launch pad to actually go ahead with the second movie and have an idea for the second movie. And the second movie wouldn't have came about if the first one hadn't been a success.
Yeah.
We were just going to make a one-off movie.
Aye.
And Lance is also in the first movie.
Lance is in it.
And you know, it's funny because later down the line in 2015, for the 4 years we made Tom together. It was funny to be with Lance again, working with him in that after so many years at Bogus. And just, you know, when we made Tom, we could use the geek culture a wee bit easier. We knew what we were doing. We went to comic book stores, we went to Geek Retreat. You played Geek nights with your friend, remember?
Scott and all that, playing Yu-Gi-Oh and all that and stuff.
So like, it was a wee bit more easier to do because we knew that it's gotten bigger than it ever was. But
What was it?
yeah, that first movie. What's your overall memory of that first movie? I mean, like, what did you remember?
My first memory of it is really me being in that room in my mum's house and like having the single bed and all that and stuff, and always into like playing computer games. But even that, when I never played computer games, I always remember I had my bookshelf and all that with encyclopedias and facts, that like known facts and all that about the world, and I just remember just reading. Sometimes I'd come in, I'd be reading, and you'd come in and go, I brought my camera, and I remember just having the book out and I'd be reading about like me the volcanoes, what caused a volcano, or some like facts in the world. I just remember I was always just into my reading and all that. You'd always find me just like with a big fat fun book or whatever in front of me. I'd always have my goosebumps as well. I'd always have like shivers or whatever. And I just remember that room just having loads of just stuff in it, just books and everything. I remember you coming
Star Wars
wallpaper. I remember I had my TV up in the wall in the videotape. I remember I had the bracket with the videotape. The video player could actually fit in the slot, and then above it was the kind of the stand where the telly would fit. And then you had the kind of strap that you put round the telly and strapped it to hold the TV in, so that they were up on a mad stand. They were actually coming out the wall, kind of, so it wasn't actually sitting down on a stand. It was actually so I could like pivot round and kind of watch it from different angles. I always remember that, and I always remember just you coming and I mean, I'll never forget as well. Obviously, like the time you obviously like disappeared, and I was obviously going to high school, and I remember like going like that, like seeing you in Bonhill Primary, and like you used to be a former Haldon Primary, and then seeing you, and I remember people that I knew for Bonhill Primary going, look, there's Paul and all, and I'm like, hi, and everything and stuff. And I remember me going to see the show there in high school, not in the Vale Even Academy, and then all of a sudden the next minute I know you've disappeared. You're not going to Vale Even Academy. You've went away for it, bloody you went away for it Cumbernauld to stay for a bit and all that, and disappear. And I thought, you'll hear from me again, and then before you know it, you turned up my door, and I was like, oh my god, wow. And like just, you know, progression of life, just how it unfolds. But like, you know what I mean, us primary school doing stuff and all that, and then leading down the line, and then
Well, that was the basics of it. When I turned up the door, I said, well, if we're ever going to do a movie, if we're ever going to do anything, try and get ourselves, and this is before YouTube, this is before people started picking up.
This is before streaming, YouTube. This is before
camera phones.
Camera phones.
This is like
smartphones. This is before anything like that.
So it was like, we better do it now. We better make a movie. We better get it out there in video, and see what happens.
Yep.
So we made the movie, and well, as you know, it was a hit, and then the idea came, we'll eventually go around and do a second movie.
Yeah.
But in terms of scenes, what's you know, I know that you're I mean, you shot that scene. I remember shooting that scene, Stand By Me scene, if you want to call it that. You remember that scene?
I think so.
There's a scene in the first movie where you sing Stand By Me in John's room.
Yeah.
Now, being in John's room at the time, it used to be like a really cool place. I mean, this is before Netflix. This is before Disney Plus and all these streaming services. Today it's so easy to get a hold of a movie because you can switch your telly on and there it is. You used to be able to go into like, when it was videotapes, before, this is the start of DVDs. DVDs were just taking off, but we were still buying videotapes, and John had this whole big shelf full of
all the hardest films you could ever find.
His room was covered in some old Stanley Kubrick box set, remember?
Kubrick
the big
box
white
set, the big white one.
He had videos underneath his bed.
He had
And drawers, remember that?
He had films that were banned, films that were like banned for years and all that and stuff, and all these other films, and you were like, wow man, you're like, where'd you get them? He's like, oh, the bars and all that. Everybody goes to bars to get all these pure big banned films and all that stuff. And
there was
wow.
Just about maybe after the time we shot the second movie, there was a time when me and Tom started getting into collecting a lot of videos and that, and in fact we used to go to a shop, remember that, in the bars. And this shop was, for any video collector or physical media collector, that, what was this shop like? I mean, like surrounded from top to bottom, full of videos. I mean, any video that was hard to get, that was an 80s film, or any kind of film, 70s, 90s, 60s, whatever, was in that video store. And we found some old classic gems, didn't we?
We found some oldies. We found some really oldies.
Joe vs. the Volcano, for example. Neighbours. Teen Wolf. We found, you name it, we found all these ones that we were looking for and beyond. But that, back to the scene, that Stand By Me scene, I mean, I remember shooting that, and I remember like you standing there singing the whole scene, and singing the whole song. And do you remember shooting that?
I think I vaguely do. The only reason I remember kind of vaguely doing it is because...
Do you remember he had his music on that...
he had his music on
whatever that thing was, it was like the Windows Media Player?
Aye, so he had Windows Media Player and all that, because he had like FrostWire and LimeWire and all that stuff. He had all that, downloading music, you could download music. I just remember, I remember Stand By Me was a film you always kind of thought highly and you always kind of loved because of the actors that were in it. And I remember it was a couple of days prior. I just remember John was sitting and he was watching it, and I thought he was ready to watch it, and I thought, you know what, I'll come watch it because I've not seen it actually in a good bit. And I remember just watching it with train tracks and them going to find this dead body, and I just remember the song was so catchy, and I just remember me and you just going in and looking for a song, and then I just saw it. It was like one of the first songs that just came because it was it's on his list, it's on his playlist, all the songs, and you hit play and that was the first song that came on. It was doing doom 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 doom, and I was like, oh my god, it's perfect. And I was like, doom doom doom, and that was me.
Yeah, I mean that scene alone, I remember shooting that, and it was when we shot that movie that was rainy. The weather was terrible.
Weather was bad.
But it was good because the whole movie takes place in the house. Originally, I remember having ideas when we were going to shoot that we'd have some scenes outside the flat.
Yep.
We'd leave the flat and go outside. Remember that?
We'd go outside, right?
But that changed as soon as the weather was really bad, and then we never ever got around to it. Even by the time we shot the second movie, in the winter. Just crossing the winter from 2002 to 2003 because we wanted to get it released for 2003. But yeah, there was another scene I need to ask you about, and it's bothered me ever since I've watched it. There's a scene in the first movie where you talk to Lance and you say to him, "See that TV over there? made a pure crackling noise and it blew up on me.
Aye.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What? Now this doesn't happen in the film. It's just something he talks about. What are you talking about? What happened? Tell us the story of that. Because it's bothered me for years ever since I watched that.
It was obviously, I remember, like, because it's always etched in my memory in here, always stays in here, I'll never forget it. It was a TV that my stepdad had gave me. It was a red TV, one of the big old tellies. I mean, if people out there that know what I'm talking about, the big old tellies with the big backing at the back, and you could like unscrew the back, and there was all the kind of bits in the TV that make the telly what it is, the colour coordination, what gave the telly colour. Well, it was just that. I remember just plugging it in, and the telly just made some kind of noise when I plugged in. I can't remember if it was my PlayStation 1 or my N64 or whatever it was. I remember plugging it in, and it made some hell of a pure sparkling noise, man. It was coming out with some weird noise at the back, and I thought, nah, that's not right, and I switched it off at the wall, took the plug out and all that and stuff, and then I just remember telling Lance, I was going, aye, that telly made some hell of a noise, blah blah blah, and I'll never forget it. After we'd shot BOGUS, I think it was about a week or 2 weeks after, and I'd forgot all about it making the noise, and I thought I wanted to play a game, and I remember just putting it in, and it was playing the game, and then it just started playing funny, it just started making a noise. So I went like that to grab the telly to buddy, because it was, the lines were all kind of going weird, so I thought I went like that to grab it, because I remember it was on a wee bedside unit, just at the bottom of my bed, and I remember going like that, bloody, I could shut the hell up, and I remember just going like that to get a wee shake, and the next minute it just fucking, it smacked. I just remember it blew, it fucking big spark and a big boom, and I just remember I remember holding it, and I remember letting it go, and I must have threw it too hard against the wall, and I remember it making a big because it blew, it made a big indent in the wall, and I remember just hearing my mum go, "What the fuck was that?" And I'm going, "Oh, blah blah, so it's just my telly, I think it's blue," and all that and stuff, and I remember just pulling it out for the wall, switching the plug off. Luckily the bloody socket in the wall, bloody frazzled or blew. I just grabbed the cord and just wrapped it round the telly, and boom, and then remember just saying to my stepdad, he came in for work, like, that old telly you gave me, it blew, I need to get a new one, and then need somehow get a new one, and then I think eventually, like, must have been about a week after or something like that, I got a new one. But I just used my computer, just jumped on my computer for the time being and all that, and that's generally the story. It was like on its last legs. It was like ready to just go, and that's what I was talking about. Like, kept just going.
You know.
But that was obviously going to happen with the old tellies, because the old tellies were, they weren't built to last. I mean, you could watch things on them, but they're not like tellies nowadays.
No.
They're. I mean, anybody tries to watch a film on them nowadays, man, oh my god, man, like, you're like, how the hell did we watch a film on that? Like, wow, like, so bad pixels and all that, like, what are the pixels and everything, like, oh, that's terrible. Like, but, it was back then, that's all we had back then. So that was the funny story of that telly, and it blown up. So that was it,
So 20 years on, what do you think now, looking back at that movie? What do you think?
I look back and go,
do you think is that 20 years have just blown by?
Oh, I know. Well, do you not think so?
Yeah.
You're always the one that told me, oh mate, you're always the one that told me, oh, do you remember this? I remember you like 10 years ago going like that. Do you know it's been 10 years since we done BOGUS? 10 years, man, look at it. Boom, boom,
I mean, I remember shooting.
And then look, 20 years. BOGUS.
Well, that's that. I remember shooting the 10th anniversary DVD special features.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the 10 years, and here we are now. Talking about 20 years.
And then here we'll be here again talking about 30 years.
Well, that's...
30 years have passed, whoa!
I know, we'll be in our 40s.
Aye, we'll be at 30 years, man, wow.
It's as a film that it's a movie that remains in our hearts today because of
I always remain in my heart.
how special it is, and what we did, and where we were in our lives at the time when we made it. Just like, I mean, we'll be talking about when when we finished with Bogus, Tom, we decided, because I was in the middle, we were starting Dad and Cumbernauld, and I asked Tom, I says, would you like to do a couple of episodes? You were only supposed to be in a couple.
Well, that was it, wasn't it? That was it. It was like you getting back. It was really you getting back really in touch with your dad a lot and seeing your dad a lot. Obviously, because you were always spending. You came back down here to stay in Bonhill.
Yep.
And then it was, you go figure out what you were doing, obviously, because you were in school and Dunmartin and all that and stuff. And then you were like, I'm back down here, but I don't want to stop being in contact with my dad and all that and stuff. I still want to see him. And then that's how you went away up to Dad Cumbernauld, and then you thought to me, we getting a bit older, like, hey, you fancy like meeting my dad and meeting my gran and my grandpa and all that up Glasgow, and I just remember us jumping the train and all that stuff, and me with the hair and all that stuff, and then Bogus Dad. And
well, that's the funny thing about that. When Tom first came into Dad and Cumbernauld, the first episode was called Bogus Dad, and it was basically just a kind of.
It was awesome. Just the name, the title, perfect.
Was just a kind of like, oh.
It was a kind
of. We nod to Bogus of what we did, and
Yep.
The whole idea was just Tom was only going to be in a couple of episodes.
That was it. That was it. I was only going to be in a few.
And like, then the idea literally came of through time. Why don't you just would you like to be in this episode or that episode, and then a little bit more it would turn out to be in the whole the show.
Because you know what it was, because it was. I remember because it was regular and because it was weekends, and we were obviously. We'd no indulged into party life at the time because we were young, so party life didn't exist in our lifetime then. So we were like, "What you doing this weekend? Like let's go up and stay up in my grand's and all that up in Cumbernauld, or let's go. Then we'll go and do stuff and all with my dad and all that stuff." And then eventually, obviously, as we got older, we went up there, and then I remember us going, "Let's go through Livingston and see Lausanne," and then there's like. We could go out and there's like, I remember we get into clubbing, there's like club through there and there's a club through in Cumbernauld. I remember us going there, and that progression in life, went from us going there with one party life to no party life to eventually we were going to drinking to there's clubs through there, we'll go through there a couple of times, there's a cool club through there, a cool club and all that, and then we thought we could mature, we thought club life, party life's kind of done with us now, it's kind of like, don't really see us kind of going out that much and socialising in pubs and clubs now, so kind of, as we get older as we are now, we're kind of like, nah, pubs and clubs are not really a thing anymore, it's kind of dwindled away now, so we're like, let's, if we're going through, let's go through and do something through and Cumbernauld like we did, way through to Stranraer with me and your dad and all that and stuff. We've done something for like Dan Cumbernauld, me, you and him and Helen done something for Dan Cumbernauld, so that's what
it's funny, like when we were shooting the latest year there, it was Tom's return to Cumbernauld, and we shot a big kind of sort of like 6 episodes or something like that with Stranraer. It was really, really amazing.
It was awesome.
But so where do you see the characters from Bogus today? Where do you think they are now? Where do you think they ended up? If there was ever to be like, there'll never be a third movie, but if there was ever to just imagine in our heads where they ended up.
I don't know.
I think that I ended up in a house and you ended up living in with me. And as for John, I would still say John's still at the house, just like he is.
Aye.
John would never leave that room.
But then it would be harder, it would be, if we done a free, it would probably be, if we done a free...
Oh, that would be very hard.
It would be hard,
I don't think we could make a free today just because, one, it's been so long, 2, John's not really in the best position in his life to be making a third movie. So the idea of not having him in the movie would have to come across, and to go ahead and make the third movie without him would be a kind of, well, it wouldn't be a great thing. We would feel he would need to be in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just that I mean, the idea of it is appealing to see to be these characters again, to be our, the way we were, just have our normal attitude back. You know, the idea sounds good, but I think that the way things are now, I just don't think the third movie would be as good. I think it would overshadow the quality of the first two movies. I think the first two movies being shot back to back, and then this gap of many years for a third movie can always kind of like just taint it a bit.
Yep.
So I think it's, if it was only a 1 and 2 bogus, I think that's just enough for a good double feature.
Yep.
So guys, thank you very much.
Yep.
I appreciate for watching this special interview of the 20 years of Bogus. You ready?
Yep.